get started with 8 ways to reduce the cost of accepting credit cards. Absolutely wonderful, wonderful information. And you may think that, maybe saving 5 cents, 2 cents, 8 cents doesn't really matter. But let me tell you, as you start saving money and getting more sales, it really can add up very quickly. I remember when I switched over to eMerchant, and I thought, oh, it's not going to save me that much money because it was, I don't remember, I think it was the per transaction charge or something like that was a couple of cents less, and then I did the figures, and I was going to save over $2,000 a year, and I went, holy cow! Anyway, so definitely a really great presentation you're going to want to pay attention to. So let's go ahead and get started. If you're brand new to the New Life event, welcome. My name is Shauna Siegel. I'm the CEO of One Choice for Your Store and the host of Ecom Experts on Webmaster Radio. I love education. I love education. And if you want to learn more about me, go check out my bio on newlifeevent.com because we are here to talk to you about the New Life event. And so I have a special thank you to our speakers. Please, please, please reach out to our speakers and say thank you so much for being here and providing us this awesome education, because without them, we would not have a New Life event. At the same time, I have to say thank you to all of you. If you weren't here promoting the event, telling your friends about the event, tweeting about the event, you wouldn't be getting more people to join us, and the speakers wouldn't come back. And let me tell you, this is our 4th event. And that's because you guys have done such a great job of telling people about it, about tweeting. You guys are doing an awesome job spreading the word. I cannot thank you enough, and that's why we are doing awesome prizes throughout the weekend, and don't forget our grand prizes as well. And you're a winner just by being here, because you are getting so much education that your competitor doesn't even know about. So you're going to take off. All right, so how do you win prizes? Go to twitter-winner.com. You'll get all the information. If you don't have a Twitter account, there's information on getting our Twitter for Business kit for free, so you can learn how to set up the account and what you need to do and get up going fast. If you want to enter in our contest, make sure you've got the hashtag NLE. That tweetchat.com URL, which you'll find on that website as well, will automatically put in that hashtag for you, so you're automatically entered into all of our prizes. So it's a really great way to keep in touch and chat with all the New Life eventers. Upcoming schedule is really, really great, so make sure that you're with us. And if you have questions, you can post them to us on Twitter at New Life Event, or ask questions on the right-hand side. I'm going to go ahead and change the presenter here over to Marlon from eMerchant.com, who I absolutely love. They are just so absolutely wonderful. Take good care of our customers. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well, Shauna. How are you? And thank you so much for doing these events.
Oh, I love doing it. These are just so much fun, and they are such a blast to do. So I appreciate you being here. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and let you hit View Slideshow and take over.
View Slideshow.
I think on that one, you go to Slideshow up on the top. On their top tools, and then you should be able just to click on that slideshow link you were just on, and then view slideshow. Left top. There you go. And then view slideshow from the beginning, all the way on the left, from the beginning. Perfect. You're ready to go.
Okay, thanks, Shauna. So my topic today is something near and dear to my heart. It's called 8 Tips to Lowering Your Credit Card Acceptance Fees. Credit card acceptance is the gasoline that makes your e-commerce engine run. It doesn't matter if you have a great website, you got to get paid, and you can't be taken for your goods that you sell. You have to get paid. So definitely, credit cards are the engine for your e-commerce store. You have to balance that, though, with making it easy for your customer to purchase, and you must offer payment options for your customers. And some of those payment options are PayPal, which, as a credit card processing entity, we very much recommend that our merchants accept PayPal. We also recommend that they accept Google Checkout. I mean, why say no to any payment option that your customer wants to make, as long as you're getting paid. And again, a direct merchant account is necessary to be able to accept MasterCard, Visa, and Discover, and American Express. A merchant account is necessary, and it's obtained through a registered merchant account provider or a merchant processing bank. A registered merchant account provider may represent several different banks, while a merchant processing bank represents just one bank, but they shoulder the risk that's associated with a merchant transaction. I said earlier that credit card acceptance is the gasoline that makes your e-commerce engine run. Well, it's got something else in common with gasoline. Credit card processing is very expensive and getting more expensive. For some of you, it may be one of your largest costs. As we evaluate the processing statement from some prospects, we find that their credit card processing fees are as high as 5%, which is a pretty significant expense. It exceeds what some of your hosting costs are, what it costs to run your Yahoo store if you're running the Yahoo store, and certainly exceeds the fees for eBay store. I love that picture. Your credit card processing statement is confusing, it's complicated, sometimes it's unreadable. There are common rate changes, bank reserves, there are held deposits. It's just hard to make heads or tails of the whole credit card processing system. There are some things, some costs, and some fees that you just have no control over, and we really won't spend much time on them, but there's very little you can do about the hard costs from MasterCard and Visa, which is called interchange. And there's nothing you can do about the type of card that's being presented. When someone puts into your website a rewards card, a corporate card, a foreign card, let's face it, you really don't know, and there's a different cost from the credit card companies for each one of these different types of cards. So while that may be difficult to swallow, there are things that you can control. One of the things that you can control that absolutely will affect your credit card processing rates are your internal procedures. And we're going to talk, spend a lot of time in talking about your internal procedures and how they would affect your rates. And your provider or processing bank, you're able to negotiate rates and change your billing structure, which will affect your cost. So with that in mind, and those being the costs that you can control, let's spend some time on those costs that you can control. The first tip in lowering your credit card acceptance fees is to always attempt an AVS match. AVS stands for address verification. Address verification will help you with your fraud. If their billing address is in San Francisco and they're asking it to be shipped to New York, there may be a problem. But understand, to affect your credit card processing rates, it doesn't matter whether there's a match or not, but just the mere fact that you've attempted an AVS match, you've avoided a transaction downgrade. We're going to talk about the significance of that, but that could be as much as 1% change in that transaction cost just by attempting an AVS match. Tip number 2, always batch out your transactions, your daily transactions, within 48 hours. Now, some of you, it's an automatic process, and that's absolutely great, and that's exactly what you want to do. But for others, you may have one transaction on Monday, nothing on Tuesday, and a couple of transactions on Wednesday. Well, that Monday transaction, you will want to batch out on Monday. If you don't batch out, all of the transactions in that batch will be downgraded, and again, as much as a 1% change increase in your credit card processing fees for just that transaction. And for some of you who may be new, batching out is just the process of sending your transactions that you've had for that day into the bank so that you can get paid, which is why we do this, right? If you're not auto batching, we would really highly recommend that you do daily auto batching. And when you do batch out, there is a additional fee for a batch of 15 to 25 cents for a batch out, but it is nowhere near what it costs to for your transaction to be downgraded. Tip number 3 in lowering your credit card processing fees is to always authorize and settle at the same amount. Now, for some of you who authorize, well, let me back up. There are 2 sides to every transaction. There is the authorization, which verifies that the cardholder has the available credit on their account and that their account is in good standing. The second side of the transaction is the capture and settle, and that's where you actually have your bank reach out to the cardholder's bank, grab the money, and put it into your account. So when you authorize a item for $100, but you settle it at $120, and let's say that $20 represents shipping, you run the risk of that transaction again being downgraded, which increases your credit card acceptance costs by as much as 1 to 2% for this one. Now, some merchants must make a choice. If you are authorizing a transaction and then you need to check inventory, or you need to find out if your supplier has the inventory for drop shipping purposes, this may be just a cost of doing business. But if you can, try to always authorize and settle at the same amount. Tip number 4. In the transaction, you need to provide all of the required data. Now, this is something you'll work with your gateway. However, all transactions need to have a transaction number or order number communicated in the batch. Your merchant account provider needs to have a customer service number associated with your merchant account number, so that on the cardholder statement they have a customer service number to contact in case there's any problems. If this data is not required, again, you have a transaction downgrade, and again, doubling your credit card acceptance costs. Tip number 5, always settle your authorizations before 7 days. Now, as I explained earlier, authorizations are holding the cardholder's available credit. So some will ask, well, can I just cancel the authorization and then reauthorize and resettle? Well, you may be on that same $100 transaction tying up $200 of available credit for your cardholder. They're not going to be a happy camper if they have reduced their available credit by $200. So you always want to authorize and try to settle that transaction before 7 days, or certainly contact that customer if it's going to be longer than 7 days. Authorizations do expire, and the time varies, and the time is dependent on the cardholder's bank, not the processing bank. So some banks, and we'll take Citibank, who issues credit cards, may make authorizations expire after 3 days. Some last as long as 7, and some go all the way to 30 days. However, if you do not settle your transaction before 7 days, it will downgrade. So these first 5 tips are all procedural in nature, how you handle the transaction as a merchant. To change your procedures is really a business decision that you have to make, but it can save significant money in your credit card processing fees. The next 3 tips are really related to how you handle your partners. One partner that has become more prevalent is the PCI people. You need to become PCI compliant. And just a brief introduction to PCI compliance. PCI compliance is really a consortium of the card brands, MasterCard, Visa, American Express, and Discover. They have implemented some procedures so that card holders are confident that their card their card information and their privacy is being protected. And what this means to you, the merchant, is that you have to follow certain compliance guidelines in order to become PCI compliant. It sounds scary, but it's actually quite easy and inexpensive. But it is expensive if you're not being PCI compliant, because if you do have a breach, credit card information that gets into the hands of someone who has bad intentions, the fees are can put you out of business. So step number one in becoming PCI compliant is to choose PCI compliant partners. Your gateway, your shopping cart, your credit card processing bank need to prove to you that they are PCI compliant, that they are going to have, they're going to store the credit card information in a secure, vaulted environment, so that in this transaction, your merchant's information is not being compromised. There are additional fees that banks will charge if you're not compliant. However, being compliant is very easy, and there are some very good companies out there who will guide you through the waters of PCI compliance, and for very small fees actually make you PCI compliant. Small fees being $100 per year, for example. So one way to lower your credit card acceptance cost is to become PCI compliant. Tip number 7. Folks, we need to review your billing statement and your billing plan. Your billing plan definitely once a year, and your statement every month. You need to question any rate increase that takes place on your statement. You need to review your bucket or tiered billing plans, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what a qualified, mid-qualified, and non-qualified rate are, but those should be very stable. In other words, rate increases should be communicated to you in advance by your processor, and frankly, should rarely occur. And the last tip is the negotiating with your merchant account provider or processing bank. When you negotiate with a bank or a vendor, knowledge is power. The more information you have, the better negotiator you are. The more information you have, the more you understand what's a fixed cost that you can't negotiate, and what's a variable cost, and where the profit lies for the merchant account provider or for any vendor. Your negotiating strengths occur in 4 areas. You or your business creditworthiness. If you are a credit risk, the merchant bank will not give you as good a rates as they might because of the perceived risk. Another negotiating strength is your past history. If you have a history of credit card processing where the chargebacks are low, the returns are low, and you have a history of taking care of customers, again, the risk to the bank is lower, therefore the ability to offer you enhanced or better rates is easier. Product type. Some products just simply have more customer service problem than others, or more chargebacks. For those of you who have just general retail goods and services, really not a problem. For those of you, an example of a product type that might be a problem would be dietary supplements, where the claims don't match what the real outcome might be for the user. And lastly, processing volume. If you are brand new, you may not have the same negotiating strength as someone who is processing, let's say, $50,000 a month. And that's in some cases a lot. In other cases, there are websites that are doing a lot of processing out there. So now that you know your negotiating strengths, let's give you some knowledge so that you can negotiate from a position of power. The first thing you need to know about is interchange. I mean, it's really kind of funny, but the information that the fees that MasterCard and Visa charge is public information. If you go to visa.com or mastercard.com, you will find exactly what their interchange rates are. These are the fees that are paid to the issuing bank. And think about that for a second. the fees that go back to the cardholder's bank that are collected from you in that transaction. And they do represent the lion's share of the fees that you pay in credit card processing. And we're going to break down a transaction in just a second. But interchange are the fees that go to the issuing bank. Dues and assessments are the fees that go to MasterCard Visa. Rates are determined by three things. The transaction type. For all of you, I'm sure that we're talking to e-commerce merchants, and internet transactions do tend to be a little bit riskier. Merchant category code. All other retail is a broad category, but supermarkets and some charitable organizations get better rates than other merchants. And then lastly, the thing that you can affect is the type of card that's being presented, whether it's a standard card, a debit card, which has a lower rate, or it's a rewards card, which has a little bit of a higher rate, or a corporate card, which has a much higher rate. Not sure that that's fair to my merchant friends, but whenever a company offers rewards, it's us, the merchants, that pay for those rewards. So here it is, the true cost of a credit card transaction. And again, this is public information. I'm not revealing anything that's not available out there. But on a Visa debit card, the true interchange rate on that card is 1.6%. The dues and assessments, which goes to MasterCard and Visa, are 11 basis points, or 11/100%. So there's an effective rate of 1.71%. And so there it is. That's what the banks really, really do have as a true cost for credit card processing. This is where your negotiating starts. What most of you will get is what's called bucket billing. And that's where Visa will take all of those lower priced cards, since there are over 300 different types of cards, and they will call them qualified cards. And these are cards that are debit cards, standard credit cards, and they go into one price bucket. The second type of card would be all the rewards cards and all of the business-to-consumer cards. Those are considered mid-qualified cards, and they go into a bucket that's a little bit higher priced. And then everything else, and all of the downgraded transactions that we talked about in tips 1 through 5, go into the non-qualified bucket. And this bucket can be over 5% cost to you, the merchant. There is another billing plan that you should ask about. If your volume is there, you will qualify for it, but it's called Interchange Plus billing. It's by far the best plan if you can qualify, and you just have to ask your merchant account provider whether or not Interchange Plus billing is something that you qualify for. But it is it allows them to make a fixed markup, which is okay. They've got to make money, but it means that you're paying the lowest possible rate for any card that's presented at your website. Here are some gotcha fees that you shouldn't pay, and as you negotiate, you make sure that you're not paying for any setup fees or application fees. That you watch out for a teaser rate, some rate that seems lower than what anyone else is offering. Here are some actual MasterCard Visa fees that you have to pay a cross-border fee of 0.55% if you take a Canadian card. However, you don't want to pay 0.75% for that card because that's an unnecessary markup. So you want to hold the bank's feet to the fire and make sure that the cross-border fee is only 0.55%. Look at your transactions. If you do 500 transactions in a month, make sure that you're being billed for 500, not 600 transactions. Transaction fee premiums, sometimes transaction fees change by the type of card that's being presented. But understand, that's just profit for the bank. There are no changes or differences in a transaction cost, whether it's qualified or non-qualified. The rate may change, but not the transaction fee. Sometimes merchants or merchant account providers will charge more for a batch. Again, their cost does not change for a batch versus a regular transaction. And make sure that returns are calculated at the same price as your discount rate and that there's not a premium paid for your returns. So these are the gotcha fees. And with this power, and as you call your merchant account provider and you go through this, they're going to say, oh, this guy knows what they're talking about. They're not even going to attempt some of the other ways that they're going to make money. Here are the legitimate fees that a bank needs to charge. One of them is the discount rate, whether it's through Interchange Plus billing or through the bucket plan. They do need to charge a discount rate for each one of your transactions. There is a transaction fee. That fee may range between 20 cents and 35 cents. It's a legitimate fee. It just does not need to be as high as it sometimes is. ADS, there is a fee for address verification. Some merchant bank providers bundle it in with their credit card processing fees. Others just include it or separate it out. But at the end of the day, address verification is a necessary, legitimate fee for merchant banks. Monthly service fees. Generally speaking, a monthly service fee is charged for all new merchant accounts, and the statement fee can range between $5 and $15 to $20. Chargeback fees are legitimate. Minimum processing fee. For those of you who are just starting out, yes, the merchant bank will want to set a minimum amount that they're going to bill you. That's because there's costs just to have your account set up, and those minimum processing fees will range between $15 and $25. Some charge annual fees. An annual fee often is related to PCI compliance and a necessary fee to keep you compliant. And if they're charging you an annual fee, find out if that annual fee makes you compliant. If it does, it's a good fee. If it doesn't make you PCI compliant, then I would really question an annual fee. Okay, now that you have this power, now that you've got this information, go negotiate. If you have a merchant account, call your processor, use this exact information, and tell them that you want a lower rate. If you are have some processing history, you probably will get a better rate. If you don't get the response you want, switching processors is very easy. There are 7 tips when choosing a new merchant account provider white paper that I wrote that you can find on the link that you see there. And it's not salesy. It is all about giving you good information about how to switch and how to choose a merchant account provider. If you're new to a merchant account, there is a white paper on our website called The Basics of Credit Card Processing. I really suggest that you read that. It will give you some good tips on what to do next. Some new people to e-commerce start with PayPal only, and nothing wrong with that. But PayPal today still only represents 20% of the marketplace as far as transactions goes, and you will find your business taking an increase when you accept directly through a merchant account a Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover card. Now for our favorite part of the presentation, our shameless plug. There's how to get in touch with us. We provide merchant accounts. We specialize in online merchants. We love people who are new to credit card processing. Our owner is a pioneer in the industry, Bill Demont, and we integrate with all shopping carts. And more importantly, we will hold your hand through the process. We will tell you how to check the numbers that we give you, and we will reveal every price to you as you go through this process. It is important that you find a partner as a new merchant So as you grow to becoming a force on the internet with your website, that you have a partner who can grow with you and who will lower your rates as you are processing more and more dollars. This is, we represent a number of banks and a number of gateways. And Shauna, that kind of concludes my part of the cost presentation.
Understood. Yes. So here's what's really fun. I've been using eMerchant forever. I absolutely love them. Bill Dumont is phenomenal. Absolutely wonderful. Marlon, absolutely wonderful. And they have this $250 challenge that if you currently have a merchant account, they'll beat their rates or they'll pay you $250. So if you think you've got the best rates, you may as well try it out, because if not, you'll get $250. And if they can beat their rates, even by, like I said, even by a penny, you'll be amazed at how much money you'll save over the years. So there's my shameless plug for, because they are such a great company. They are such wonderful people. They are absolutely awesome. I love them. I love them. So I have a couple of questions here. We had somebody that said PCI charges were really a cost I didn't anticipate, and they were steep. And that was a very interesting comment, because I'm wondering what she is being charged for and what exactly she's talking about as far as PCI charges are costs she didn't participate. So if she could give us some more information, that would be extremely interesting. Extremely interesting. So while she gives us that, and that was Desi D's Reno, give us some more information on that, because I would love to see what's going on there.
Can I talk about that just generically?
Yes, please.
So to become PCI compliant, you do not have to spend any money, but you have to go to the PCI compliance website. And it's on our website, a direct link to the PCI compliance website, and it tells you what you need to do. If you've chosen PCI compliant partners, obviously eBay, Authorize.net, Yahoo, whatever your platforms are PCI compliant partners. So for you, the merchant, all you really have to do is create internal procedures that will protect credit card data, and implement simple firewalls on your computer system. It really is very easy. If you're uncomfortable with just doing it yourself and you would like to have a company walk you through the process, $149 will get you a PCI compliant certificate. They will scan your website quarterly, but it's only $149. Now, what happens, and what I anticipate from your the question, is that not only they're being charged to be compliant, that the bank is requesting a fee for them to not be compliant. And so we do see banks double dipping here, and I would really call my bank and question them on whether or not that it's right for them to charge a compliance fee and a non-compliance fee. We suggest that they not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just, yeah. All right. Now, here's a great question and something that I get all the time. And if you don't mind, I'm going to give my personal opinion, then I'll let you take it. But I'm looking at PayPal Pro or merchant account. Any tips? Here's the biggest, most important tip I've probably ever gave people, is that you need both. There are going to be people out there, like we just learned about eBay, right, that only want to use PayPal. Maybe they started buying on eBay and they're used to using PayPal, and that's all they want to do. They think PayPal's safe, so that's all they want to use is PayPal. So you want to use PayPal for those people. But you need a merchant account as well, because that's going to help you save so much money. I'm on the PayPal site. I'm looking at their Pro package, and they're charging, if you're doing, like, let's take the average customer or the average small business that I know that we see doing $3,000 to $10,000 a month, they're charging you 30 cents per transaction fee. That's high in my book. I mean, what are your thoughts, Marlon?
not only charging you 30 cents per transaction, but they charge you 2.9% for every transaction. And while some merchants see that as, oh my goodness, there's only one rate, I like that, I know what my costs are going to be. Well, if you saw my slide where it said that a debit card only costs you 1.6%, that's an outrageous markup for credit card processing. We have always been able to drive people's effective rate for all fees to below the 2.9% for across the board, and so that is a very high rate. And I've not heard great things about customer service, and I think a lot of the merchants will say that. However, I agree with you, Shauna. You have to accept PayPal as a website or as an e-commerce solution, and I also believe, why not accept Google Checkout, or why not accept e-checks? If the customer wants to pay a certain way, I don't think we as merchants should say no.
And just like we talked about in the last webinar with Kat, don't put all your eggs in one basket. There's another thing to think about, you know. I mean, if let's say PayPal goes down, and it has happened. If that's the only way that you're accepting payments, you're done. You're done, you're over with. So someone wanted to know if Yahoo stores are PCI compliant.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We love those stores. And does your system work with big commerce sites?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I love these kind of questions. What are your thoughts on Bill Me Later?
I think that the more ways that you can say yes to a customer, the better you are as a seller of goods. And so I think that we say yes, or you should say yes to as many possibilities on your website as you can. I think that's just good business.
Absolutely. Now, someone wanted to know, can you use Google Checkout with a Yahoo store? And unfortunately, that answer is no. It goes against both Google's terms of service and Yahoo's as well. And maybe one day they'll get along and play nice together, but as of right now, the answer is no.
Nor can you accept e-checks on Yahoo. There are other platforms you can, but not with Yahoo.
Yeah. So this is a really great question from Mike. What are the best practices for receiving deposits on items that ship maybe 1 to 3 weeks later? Credit card company guidelines suggest that if it doesn't ship within a certain time frame, then the seller's only allowed to accept a deposit and then charge the remainder when the sale of the item ships. So when an item is purchased by the customer on an e-commerce store, the credit card is authorized for the total amount. Good question.
This is a great question, and there are different answers for every different type of business out there. What other people like this merchant do is they will do a $1 authorization on day one, which does two things. It verifies that this is a credit card holder in good standing with his issuing bank, and it minimizes the amount of credit that he has held for this transaction. So yes, that authorization is going to expire, and you're going to be charged an authorization fee, which is only 25 cents. And then whenever the product comes in, it's rebilled at that moment is one way of doing it. Now, here is a risk that the merchant takes in that situation, Shauna, is that if it's something that's expensive, then the merchant has brought has a cost of goods associated with bringing that transaction in, and 3 weeks later, let's say that the credit card holder does not have that available space on their credit card, then that can be a little risky for the merchant. However, they haven't shipped the goods yet, so it's not like they can't resell it to someone else. The opposite way of doing this is to authorize for the full amount and then call the merchant. Tell him what's going on. Call the card holder and explain to the card holder that the item is going to ship in 3 weeks, and tell them what's going to happen. So it's possible that the issuing bank in 3 weeks from now will allow that authorization to expire, and then you, the merchant, must then rebill for the full amount for that transaction. You have a choice. There's additional cost either way of doing it. I just highly recommend full disclosure to the cardholder throughout the process.
Excellent, excellent information. Excellent information. Okay, so here's what Desi D's Reno said, and Marlon, I hope that I can just tell her to call you to find out what happened. But she said my account was debited $130 over a 3-month period, along with another $15 fee for that PCI.
I believe if she is a merchant of ours, I absolutely can help her specifically, and I think that she is. So please have her call us, and we can work that out. I think that she is getting charged exactly what I talked about, a non-compliance fee and a compliance fee. So in her situation, I believe that she needs to become compliant, and when she does become compliant, the $15 fee will go away. And we find it legitimate for a processing bank to charge one or the other, but she must become PCI compliant, as all merchants need to become PCI compliant, and I think some banks are assisting in that process. So if you'll have her call me, I'd love to help her.
Okay, all right. Now, the other question we're getting is BigCommerce PCI compliant? Now, this is very interesting because they just, as of January 28th, became PCI compliant. So that just happened.
Well,
Brenda was wondering that.
Must become PCI compliant, but however, their risk is typically very low because the credit card information is being transmitted via a gateway. And the gateway itself is who is storing and securing that credit card information. Generally speaking, in most e-commerce transactions, you can't go back to BigCommerce and get a credit card number. It's stored at the gateway in your authorized.net or your Interspire gateway is where it's being stored. So the gateway definitely will be PCI compliant, and some shopping carts have not been, but they're becoming PCI compliant. So as long as your gateway is, you generally speaking are protected.
Great questions, everybody, that you're asking. Now, I just want to do a little thing to tell you. I went to, by the way, yes, they do work with bricks and mortar stores as well. So I was on eMerchant, and I was looking at the internet transaction fees. It says eMerchant is 10 to 15 cents. Now we're talking about PayPal Pro, which is 30 cents a transaction. So you may think, well, 15 cents, you know, that's not really a big deal. So I'm gonna just show you how 15 cents can make a difference. Let's say you sell 20 products a week, and let's do that times 0.15. So that's $3 a week times 52 weeks. You just saved $156 by getting yourself a merchant account from PayPal. That's just the transaction fee. That doesn't include the percentage charge. That doesn't include all the other charges. That's just in per transaction fee. 20 sales every week, you save $156 a year. These do add up, and that's why I really wanted eMerchant to explain, and that's why I want you to know. When I first started out in the business, I had no clue that you could negotiate your rates. I thought whatever they told me, that's what I was stuck with. Like the gas company. You know, the gas company tells you this is how much you're paying. The electric company tells you this is how much you're paying. Okay. Not the case when it comes to merchant accounts and shipping. If you don't know that about your shipping carrier, you can negotiate with them. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Shauna, it's awesome being with you. We're just, every year that I've done this, I just enjoy it more. The outreach is awesome, and it's a great event, and I love doing it.
Oh, this just keeps getting better and better, and I'm absolutely loving it, and so happy to keep doing it. I just absolutely love it. So, guys, we are going to give you a 15-minute break this time, and I know our first couple of webinars did not have a very long break. So this time, take some time, get up, stretch, walk around, move around, and you know, go check out emerchant.com. Seriously, these guys are great. We love them. You know, tell them, hey, I was at the New Life event and, you know, you guys said you'd save me money. Show me. Tell them, say, show me, you know, and see what you can do. And while you're on break, you know, enjoy yourselves. Go kiss all your loved ones. Tell them I'm so very sorry. And make sure to check out twitter-winner.com because there's all kinds of goodies that we're going to give away and all kinds of great stuff. And when we come back, I'll have to do like a special prize and make sure that everybody gets one, and we'll figure out something. All right, everyone, let's go ahead and take that 14-minute break. And thank you again, Marlon.